Day 2 of this huge trial that is so complicated and so layered. So that's your job, is to make it not so complicated so we can understand everything that's happening there. So each night we're going to start off, I said it last night, I'll say it so people understand what we're doing here. We start the show, Chanley tells us in her reporter's notebook the 3 biggest things that happened today inside, outside the courthouse. Chanley, what's number 1 tonight?
Vallow Daybell herself, Vinny, number 1 in the notebook because she showed some emotion inside that courtroom today. And it was right after the lunch break. Those inside the courtroom noticed a difference between her demeanor, the normal smiley, chatty Lori in the morning, and then in the afternoon, her face red, as if she had been crying, downtrodden type of body language, so much so that there was a break about 30 minutes. Well, let's just say lunch break was extended another 30 minutes as probably wanting her to maybe regroup a little bit, compose herself. She knew what was coming in the afternoon. Well, the judge, when he did take the bench, put it on the record, Vinny, and the defense asked in a motion if Lori could waive her right to be in the courtroom for the rest of the day. They cited her mental fragility and that it was a tough testimony and photos and the history of her troubles. The state objected and said that she must be inside the courtroom. Well, ultimately, Vinny, the judge did say that he looked at the authority and that he felt he could override the request of Vallow Daybell. He required her to sit in the courtroom, be present to ensure that all the due process rights, fair trial rights were covered for the prosecution and for the defendant. And she sat there that afternoon, and those inside the courtroom, Vinny, say that she was a very different Lori, head down, did not look up really at anything or anyone throughout the afternoon, possibly maybe took something to help calm her down. We're not sure, but it was interesting to see.
So what was it? What was this testimony that she was so concerned about? What was it that she didn't think she could handle?
Well, it was the testimony of one of the main investigators, Detective Hermosillo, Vinny, and he's number 2 in my highlight. We can go to reporter's highlight number 2 if we want, because it was a tough day inside the courtroom, especially this afternoon with this detective recounting. Now, remember, he's the detective that testified in that preliminary hearing. We recognize who he was from that, and he was a part of this case in the fall of 2020 for that welfare check for JJ, soon learning that this was a lot more than just some welfare check, right, Vinny? So he walks his jury through that investigation, and he showed some very gruesome photos this afternoon of how Tylee Ryan was unearthed in Chad Daybell's backyard, and also how JJ Vallow was dug up as well in a shallow grave. But then he goes into details, Vinny, from the autopsy that he observed the next day. And here's part of that testimony that Lori likely wanted to avoid. He said, "I saw a little boy in bright pajamas. He had a white plastic bag around his head, several layers of duct tape from chin to forehead. His arms were bound with duct tape. His arms were folded across his chest. His feet were also bound with duct tape. He had a white and blue child blanket placed on top of him. His pajamas, those red pajamas we've been seeing, soaked with body decomposition. He still had on his pull-up nighttime diaper. There was some visible bruising on his arms that the medical examiner had also pointed out to us." And then even I was in the observation room in the courthouse, and we saw these photos too. Awful photos of layer of duct tape bound with JJ as they peeled it back. You could make out who he was. Clearly still that 7-year-old little boy, and inside the courtroom, his grandparents, Kay not in there, she couldn't be in the courtroom, but Larry was in there, and he was sobbing, his family members comforting him, and even emotion in the jury. Those in there tell me that one of the jurors actually seemed to be crying as these photos were on the screen. Vinny, and I also found out that Larry, because the state's not going to call him as a witness, so that's why he's been able to be in the courtroom from the beginning during this trial.
That's a good call by the prosecutor, not to call Larry, let him be in there. That's probably more important. Kay could testify to everything. We're looking at this photo right now of JJ. Now, we've been reporting for years that we believe this was the last photo of JJ alive. Are these the pajamas that he was wearing? Are these the pajamas he was murdered and buried and wrapped in plastic and duct tape in?
Yes, Vinny, those are the exact pajamas that I saw pictures of today and from his autopsy. And it was made even more powerful because this detective, the prosecutor on direct prob would made sure to introduce this photo right before they go into these graphic pictures from the autopsy, and you can clearly make out he's wearing those same pajamas. There's several, as you know, in autopsy, there's full body shots, there's close-up shots of different parts, and it's heart-wrenching.
This photo, is it clear who took the photo and when the photo was from exactly? I mean, it's got to be very close to the time that his life is taken.
That photo, November 22nd, was the evening. Remember, we're going to hear from Melanie Gibb, her boyfriend. They were there at Lori's apartment in Rexburg, recording one of their podcasts when they did see JJ Vallow in these red PJs that, Uncle Alex Cox came to get him and then brought him back, and they thought it was a sweet moment in that JJ was laying his head on Alex's shoulder as Alex returned him to the apartment. And I'm pretty sure prosecutors are going to say JJ was deceased at that time. And so around November 22nd, and this photo is from Lori Vallow Daybell's iCloud account, kind of the same iCloud account where they were also able to find Tylee Ryan's last known photo sighting from September 8, 2019 at Yellowstone National Park, Vinny.
So taking a photo of your child just before he's murdered, I don't know what the jury's going to do with that. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what that means. I feel like I almost need someone to get into the mind of someone who would do that. And then, as we know, the remains are dug up in the backyard of the Daybell home. It is a tough case, tough afternoon. But such an important moment as well. It really, and what you're telling me about jury reaction is that it made everything very real. That this is not some movie. This is not about some hypothetical victim here. This was a real little boy, and I think the jury got that today. The other thing it tells me, if Lori is responding this way, she's very competent, right? Competency was always a question, where she was mentally. She's in it. She knows exactly what's happening. She knows what's coming up. She knows what it means. So that's significant as well. Wow. Okay, we've got your top two. Number 3 item from your notebook tonight, Chandler.
Yeah, Vinny, and I believe earlier I said JJ went missing November 22nd, September 22nd would be the last time that picture was taken. Just wanted to clarify that real quick. But number 3 actually is an interesting one. I'm going to see if it flies with you, because we're going to talk about Chad Daybell for number 3. Even though this is not his trial, he's not here. He keeps coming up, obviously, in the testimony as a co-conspirator, Vinny, and his attorney, John Pryor, keeps showing up every day. He will enter and exit this courthouse. He will sit into the remote listening room where I was today, and so I observed him taking in the testimony and the evidence in that room, taking some notes. He had a notepad with him. Also inside that remote listening room here, the sheriff of Fremont County, Lynn Humphreys, who, that's where Chad is right now. That's where he's being held in Fremont County, about 4 or 5 hours from here. So I caught up with the sheriff. How is Chad keeping up with this trial? We know his attorney's here. Does he have the resources there at the jail to watch this unfold or watch the news? Well, here's what we know from the sheriff himself who runs that jail. He says that Chad is being kept separate, of course, still from all the other inmates. He does have designated time in a room that has a television, Vinny, but he's unclear. The sheriff didn't know, maybe he didn't want to tell me, what exact channels were on this television. Of course, not every channel is offered there. If they have maybe local news, he could keep up with some of the stories there if it plays. But he only has a telephone that he can have calls on over the phone, or visitors in person only at the Fremont County Jail. But he does have his own computer provided by his legal team. No internet, though, so he can't do any searches or anything on this computer other than, study his case file probably. But we'll see if his family or maybe his attorney is updating him every day exactly how this trial against his wife is unfolding, Vinny.
Yeah, I figured John Pryor would be there. He's tenacious, he's ferocious, he's extremely smart, and he's going to pick up everything that's happening in this first case. It's because of him that the cases are severed. He was the one that wanted it, clearly wanted to go second, and maybe we'll get some insight into how prosecutors are presenting everything here. But Chad, even if you wanted to watch it on television, couldn't, Chandler, because the judge has banned cameras from the courtroom. Interesting.